What is up, y'all? It is me, and I'm back here with another video. So today we're gonna be doing something a little bit different. I haven't done a sit down chit chat video in a hot little minute, especially when it comes to advice, and y'all know it's my first real back to school season without being a student, so I'm having a little bit of mixed feelings. And considering I just graduated in May and I did my years of college, my time is done, I did my time, I'm done with it, I was like, let me give the girls some advice. So I asked you guys my spam account some weeks ago, I mean like back in June, girl, like things y'all want to know about college. I'm gonna sit here and give you my answers to my time being a student, major decisions, how I chose, and everything like that. So let's get into it. A lot of y'all asked me about making friends, but the first question specifically says finding your people. Now, me personally, I feel like I didn't really, where's my lip gloss? I personally feel like I didn't really find my people until about my senior year or like mid-junior year of college, and that's because I was very introverted, and anybody who knows me personally knows that I'm extremely introverted. I feel like a lot of people overthink how to make friends, but in college you kind of have to use your opportunities of who you know to like network. So for example, one of my closest friends ever, he went to UNC Charlotte. I knew him, and because I knew him, he introduced me to so many people that go to the school, and that's how I know so many people I know now, and that's why I had the opportunities I had the friends I had. It all started with him. That kind of did like a little domino effect and butterfly effect into who I know, what I did. So I feel like my personal tip for finding like your people, all it really ever has to do is really start with one person, because your roommate or like the one person you know in class might not be your best friend, or you might not see them every day, but you never know what door somebody can open up for you, and that even includes relationships, friendships, romantic, platonic, or just associate level things. Because listen, people know people, and those people know even more people. So if you start this little chain reaction, you never know who you're gonna find. And I will say, in college, some people meet their people or like person within the first couple weeks, and some people meet their person within the next couple months, or sometimes people just never meet their people in college, and that's okay. But I feel like when you start stressing about finding that, it's gonna feel a lot harder than it actually is, if that makes sense. Next question, how does changing majors work? Does it affect your degree? Y'all know I did literally every single thing one could possibly do in college. I transferred schools, I changed majors. Also, let me fix the lighting. Is this too dark for y'all? I ended up changing majors. I went into college. I've been to 2 colleges, by the way, and I went into my first college as a communications major. After I switched to my more recent alum, UNC Charlotte, I went in as pre-com, because you have to go in as like a pre-major and get your prereqs and pass them, and then you go into like the actual like concentration. It's stupid, but that's what happens. Depending on what you change your major to, that can in fact affect your degree progress and credits that you have, because if you're going from like education to biochem, there's of course going to be a few shifts, because different areas in schools, such as like schools of business, schools of art, stuff like that, it requires different requirements to finish your degree. Now, me personally, I have always been within the College of Arts and Liberal Sciences, and that's why my transition from being a comm major to a writing, rhetoric, and digital studies major was so smooth. And basically, a lot of people ask about what that major is, and I'll explain it real quick. Basically, writing, rhetoric, digital studies is like English, persuasion, communication, marketing, and digital studies. I'm really good at data analytics, so that's my major, like simplified. But anyway, depending on what you're switching your major to, if you're switching between schools, it's going to be different. If your majors are like very different, of course it's going to affect your degree to some of the slightest, because if I was a chemistry major at first and then I switched to marketing, girl, I'm not going to need that chem class that I took 4 times. Like, I'm really not going to need that. I don't want to say take this with a grain of salt, but it's so personal, and it depends on what school you go to, who you are as a person, what you like to do, and just you'll see that later in the video. Next question, have you ever dealt with a rude advisor? Fun fact, I've never dealt with an advisor in my life, because all my college advisors didn't do anything. They literally sat up in their little office and looked cute. They set up schedules wrong. So after my first bad encounter with an advisor, I just said forget it. Like, at this point, leave me alone. Y'all aren't doing your job, so I'm just gonna figure out how to do everything on my own, which is exactly what I did. How did you narrow down where you applied? I originally was gonna apply to 5 schools. Let me give you my big 5: Chapel Hill, NC State, UNC Charlotte, UNC Greensboro, and A&T. A&T I for sure wanted to apply to because it was free. If you didn't know, there's free app week in October for a lot of HBCUs, so if you didn't know, you had to pay to apply to colleges. Yeah, and it's like $70 to $80 per application, so what a way to save some money if you didn't know you could. I really wanted to apply to NC State and Chapel Hill just to say that I got in and I applied, but I ended up not, because those application fees stack up. Like, people who apply to like 50 plus schools, I need to know what your parents do, because oh my gosh, I was spending my parents' money applying for these colleges. One school alone was like $80, the other one was $70 or like $75. It adds up. Like, even that is almost $160 worth, and that's just for 2 schools. So I ended up not applying to Chapel Hill and NC State, because I feel like it would be a waste of money, and 2, it's just I wasn't gonna go there anyway. I already knew where I wanted to go. When I applied, I wanted to go to UNC Greensboro, which is where I was for a semester, and then I transferred to UNC Charlotte, and even my transfer experience, I had to pay for that application. So I basically narrowed down where I wanted to go based on if I knew I could get in, what I'm willing to pay for, and my experience of the major that I wanted to pursue, like how that program was at the school. Because I feel like a lot of people, they would know what they want to go to college for, but nobody does like any background research on like the programs that they have there, because the school websites are going to do it like whatever they can to make it look good, like to get people to come there. I basically went internally because I'm friends with a lot of people that are a year above me, so anybody who was in college a year above me and they went to schools that I knew that I wanted to go to, or I was like interested in, I would be like, hey, what's this program like, is it any good? What do you hear? I know you might not be a part of this major, but like what are they saying? And then that really helped me narrow down based off like that. So cost, program quality, and of course like little other factors like location, like stuff like that. Tips on how to have a stable study habit. Girl, I don't know if I'm the one to be asking this. I'm gonna say this right now. If y'all want to be a triple bomb threat in college, you're gonna have some self-discipline. Like, you need to have even the slightest like lick. Like, you need to have a little bit, okay? Now, I'm not saying you need to spend 6 hours of your everyday life studying. Now, if you're in med school, don't listen to me. You absolutely need to be doing that. But if you're not, let's keep chatting. Oh, and if you're a lawyer or an engineer, please don't make our buildings fall, and please don't send innocent people to jail. Anyway, there's ways to have study schedules. I will say, because I was more of a writing and writing studies major, I'll keep saying that is my major. Also, I'm turning my AC on, so I'm sorry if you can like hear it. I really hope you can you? Oh, you absolutely can. That sucks. Let me roll my window down. Tips on how to have a consistent study habit. All I'm gonna say is time blocking is your friend, and you need to have non-negotiables for study time. It doesn't matter what you're studying during that study time, you just need to be studying. Non-negotiables and setting time aside to actually do it. Everybody says it, they say it for a reason, I promise. Is it better living in a dorm versus outside / near the school? I want to live with my best friend for first year. Until I die, I will always say I wish I lived on campus for at least a semester or a year. Anybody who lives on campus has so many connections and friends and just so many more direct links to what's going on campus because they're there 24/7. When you're a commuter student, you literally go to school, go to class, and go home. Of course, you can like go to the library and stuff like that, but you're not on campus by force. When you're forced to be on campus, you're forced to talk to people, go around, know your way around. Anybody who I know that's lived on UNC Charlotte's campus knows the campus like the back of their hand. They know faculty, staff, all of it. So I really think depending on what you want out of your college experience, that determines if it's better to live on campus or off campus. I'm gonna answer a little bit more about that later because I did in fact stay off campus my entire college experience. Like I said, I will always say I wish I stayed on campus for at least a semester or a year just so I can get that experience. Depending on how accustomed you want to be to school, I feel like that determines. And it also depends on your preference of living. Like, if you don't mind staying on campus 24/7, go ahead. 9 times out of 10, you're always gonna know what's going on campus, who's where, who's who. You're gonna get more comfortable with campus if you live on there versus commuter, you only go there to go to class, so you know your 3 buildings and you go home. You know, so me personally, I would say if you're more of a social butterfly and looking to get out of your shell, you should in fact live on campus. But if you don't really care and you just want to get your schooling done, off campus might be your cup of tea. Do you have any advice about getting internships? I absolutely do. So this is to my upperclassmen. Yes, I'm talking to you. So if you didn't know, internships are a really big part of college. Some of them are free labor, some of them are paid. I've had 2 internships since being in school. One was free and then the other one was paid. I got $15 an hour and it was for 3 months and I worked 40 hours a week. You can do the math, which is crazy for an internship. I also got unlimited PTO, stuff like that. So it was a whole thing. They treated us like employees. You need to make your resume appeal to that internship. If you're applying for a marketing internship, don't tell me how you can paint. Don't tell me you taking painting classes. What you need to tell me is what social medias are you into? What have you done in school? What classes have you taken to prove that you're fit for this? I remember I was doing a SEO, a search engine optimization internship. I was applying for it. That was the paid one. I do SEO with YouTube. SEO is basically what you can do to rank your videos better when people search it. So if I look up how to tie shoe, what can I do to make that the best with tags, descriptions, stuff like that, all that. So since I was applying to an SEO internship, I didn't need to say I know how to record a podcast because I took a class in that, or things such as, oh, I know how to professionally film things. When it comes to stuff like that, I said I know how to tags, metadata, I know how to use applications such as like Ahrefs or Screaming Frogs and stuff like that, because it appeals to said internship. So when you're applying, whatever's on that resume or whatever information that is going on that resume that's going to help you get that job, you need to put on the resume what's going to appeal to the internship. That's gonna vary based on the internship and like where it's gonna be and everything like that, because that's just how stuff like that works. It's gonna vary. So like if I wanted to apply to marketing, like a communications internship, or let's say a digital marketing or digital comm, or even assistant internship position, like you just need to put on the resume what appeals to that job, and you need to say, how am I gonna sell myself to these people through one pagers. Also, don't make your resume 2 pages. Don't ever do it to yourself. Somebody asked me, does the workload ever feel impossible to complete? I will say during my senior year, I feel like all of the years that I was in college kind of got knocked out the water so soon, because college, I'm not gonna lie, was very easy for me because I've always been a very academic and just like on top of my stuff person, because that's just who I am. So going into college really wasn't that bad for me. But I will say my senior year, they were showing they ass. Them 4,000 level classes, they were showing they ass. There was a point in the fall semester of 2022 where I basically had to write a 8 to 15 page paper every week. And in this paper, I had to include research I did, methods. So I had to do research and then type up that paper every 10 days. And at that point, it felt impossible to keep up. I got a C in the class, but I got the degree, so who cares? There was a point where I did in fact feel like college was impossible, because on top of that, I was struggling in a language class, an intermediate language class, knowing good and well I did not need to be in that class. Had those 2 classes and 3 other ones. Like, it was just, oh girl, I didn't even want to think about it. Definitely felt at a point where no matter what I did, I wasn't doing good enough, because I would bust my ass for different assignments and different teachers and different classes, and I would still get like mediocre grades. And at that point, I was just like, damn, like, can I do anything, you know? And I started beating myself up about it, and I had to constantly get reminded, like, you're doing the best you can with what you have, and there's no reason that you need to be beating yourself up for this, because at the end of the day, it's just a grade. And as long as you get what you need to get done, you should be good. So that's what I'm just gonna say on that. Please tell me how to be an academic weapon this year. Time blocking. If you don't know what that is, you put a block of calendar time on that Google Calendar, iCalendar, Notion, whatever. Have a study method that fits each subject. Don't have a universal study method. Universal study methods get your grades killed. Why are you using repetition method that you use for science and math on English? No, you need to be able to apply different study methods to different subjects. Give yourself some grace, give yourself some time, and just realize that, listen, you're more than capable. Okay, you're more than capable. I promise. Best way to approach professor when I'm too shy to raise my hand in class. The thing about me, as long as I feel comfortable in a class, I'm going to nag a professor, because I'm paying you to be here. My money's going in your pocket, so you're gonna sit up here and be at my service. You're gonna teach me well, and if I don't understand, you're gonna answer my question, first and foremost. Best way to approach a professor, if you're shy in class, email them. They have the email for a reason. They have the number for a reason. They have the messaging services in implemented service for a reason. It's okay to digitally talk to these people. I hate talking to my professors head on when I have a problem, especially in that class that I had to write an 8 to 15 page paper every 10 days for. I did not like talking to that man face to face. He intimidated me, all that. But in class, I was key. But if I had a problem, I emailed him, no problem. And he would come back. It would be passive aggressive, but he would answer. So if you have trouble with talking in class, just email them or text them, call them, whatever they allow. Best apps that help with anything uni/college related. All my writers stand up, which should be all of you, because you're in college. And if you're in college, I know you're gonna write some. Grammarly, Notion for organization. I also loved Chegg. That membership, I'm gonna pay for it. Quizlet, that membership, I'm gonna pay for it. You have to invest in your education. Not everything is an investment. Like Notion is free, Grammarly is free, but listen, when you invest in these educational apps, not gonna regret it, I promise. How to deal with unruly professors/tough graders. Oh my god, I'm gonna tell y'all a story. I literally had a professor, the same one that had us write an 8 to 15 page papers every week, that included research that we had to do on our own time. Yes, outside of class. Yeah, I can't make this up. I did a research thing on the It's a Chicken Salad trend. I told him about the idea in class. He was like, that's really good, I'm excited to see it. I wrote a thesis, I had charts, I had colors. It was like a 14 to 20 page paper. Tell me why I got my paper back. And he said, your concept doesn't make any sense, after he already said it was good in class. I literally can't make this up. Professors like that really just itch my soul. Okay, so I will say, when it comes to tough professors and tough graders, the best thing you can do is get information overly clarified and just getting a lot of clarity on questions you may have. If there's any level of uneasiness on an assignment and a question of what's going on, ask them. They get paid to teach you and answer your questions. You need to be asking them and utilizing them. And if you still don't feel good, ask your peer first, and if they don't understand still, ask your professor. Because, oh my goodness, and like I said, if you can't do face-to-face face like I can't, definitely email them, because I hate when professors act like they're too good to answer an email. I will spam you. You didn't answer me in 4 days, I'm gonna follow up. How to stay organized and on top of things. I've been struggling with that. I'm not gonna go too into detail right now, but I will say I'm gonna link a lot of my back to school videos from like years ago down below, because a lot of that stuff still in fact takes place. I'm gonna include note taking, how I stayed organized, all that, how I prepped for school, all of that, because it still is relative. So there's that. I will say, me personally, when I was in school, I loved Notion and calendars just because it allowed me to see my week at a glance, and I love time blocking. I'm gonna praise time blocking for as long as I can ever. Just, it worked for me so great and I love it. I'm gonna recommend it to everybody who ever asks me because I'm annoying. Very, very, very easy tip to implement if you're usually not really organized is go through your syllabi and put your due dates on your calendar, and then as the weeks go by at the beginning of a new week, put time in your calendar to make sure that you're doing what's coming up. So if I know if something due Saturday night at 11:59 or Sunday at 11:59, I'm gonna put time in my calendar to make sure that gets done, especially not at the last minute or nothing like that, because as soon as you start doing last minute stuff, that's when you start half-assing stuff, and then you start forgetting about stuff, and it just turns into a whole thing. So that's my personal, I would say, like, less energy inducing type of way to stay organized, if that makes sense. What are some practical things you really need? Technology. I didn't live on campus, so I feel like I could speak very little about stuff like that, but when it comes like actual learning materials, technology, it doesn't matter if it's a computer. Well, it kind of does matter, but you need something just technical, especially with the way college goes these days. Girl, what's a textbook? The professors send the PDFs themselves. How to take good notes. Once again, I'm going to link that down below, because y'all know I used to be a powerhouse. Girl, where do I find the motivation to keep pushing? I'm gonna sound so annoying when I say this, but honest to God, all I can tell you is you have to find it within yourself, okay? The thing that kept me going was knowing I was graduating. I did not like school. I like to learn, but I did not like school. I love to learn, but I don't like academic settings. Does that make sense? So my want and need and hunger to be done with school really drove me. So if you're lacking to find motivation, especially if you don't really care about grades, just push yourself knowing that you're gonna be done. Start small. Just know you're gonna be done one day. That's how I did it. How did you find the discipline to sit down and get work done? The only reason that I was able to sit down and get work done so consistently was because I put myself in good settings. Like, I would really put myself like in the library, coffee shops, on campus or off campus, that made me feel like I should be doing something besides scrolling on TikTok for 4 hours, and it made me want to get stuff done. And for some reason, I always associate home with relaxing. When it came to getting stuff done, I knew that I did not need to be going home because it wouldn't be done unless it was like an absolute dire emergency and like I forgot to do something. So putting myself in good settings, good productive settings that made me feel good, up to spirit, and like I'm catching up with people around me, it was very helpful. And I also put time on my calendar to do so. So if you haven't found the pattern of me loving a calendar time block, I think you should catch on by now. What did you learn in your time as an intern, and how did that affect your after college plan? I'm a good worker, but I'm an excellent worker when I'm left alone. And how that determined my college plans after. I started looking into potential jobs for when I'm done with content creation that involve working for somebody, but I spent a lot of time doing stuff on my own. You'd be surprised how much you learn within a 16-week time stamp when you're an intern, because you don't really think about stuff like that until it's right in your face. And that, I would say, that's the biggest thing I learned. I work good even under people. I just need to do a lot of it alone. I can work on a team, but I'm best when I'm just me, when I'm individual. How to stay safe at college parties. They seem pretty crazy. Buddy system. If you go out with one other person, y'all do not need to leave each other's sight. If you're traveling in threes, y'all need to keep it together. The only time you need to be splitting up is when you're in groups of 4 or higher, so everybody has a buddy. If you're going off with somebody, make sure somebody has your location, make sure you cover your drinks, and make sure you're just always with somebody you know. Like, that's literally the easiest thing to do. So when it comes to the behavior, because that happens a lot, and we are in fact in America in 2023, about to be 2024 soon. If you feel uneasy about going somewhere, trust your gut, because 9 times out of 10, if you feel uneasy about going somewhere, it's for a reason, and the universe is trying to tell you something. So if you feel uneasy or just like something isn't right, get out of there, okay? I know everybody wants a good time, but if you're feeling uneasy, find a way home that is safe. Let people know where you are. Like, I feel like that's the biggest thing. Let people know where you are, because if something does pop off at a party and nobody knows you were at the party because you didn't tell anybody, now what? And God forbid that's like the worst thing that could happen, but it does in fact happen. And I feel like when you go out, you definitely have to take take that type of stuff into consideration. How did you and your friends feel about having older people in your class, those who maybe didn't go straight to college? Quite frankly, in the college economy versus like high school, people really don't care about stuff like that. If anything, I think it's pretty cool. I would love having older people in my classes. They would talk about like their kids, what's going on at home, like, oh, this class can't get out too late because I have to go get my kids from school. Like, I love hearing about stuff like that because people do have lives outside of college. It's like nobody really cared, you know, because I feel like in high school people are really judgy, but when you get to college, it's like, oh, we're all here for the same thing, get a degree and go home, you know? How did you make a study schedule, like with school and working / YouTube? I've been a full-time content creator for years now. I started my YouTube journey almost 10 years ago. I'm not gonna sit up here and say I have a solid answer for how I managed that, because I definitely didn't. It was hard. There were times where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like school, like I don't want to do it. YouTube is right now and I should be taking advantage of it right now. And the other times I was like, YouTube can wait, I need to get my degree. I was definitely like flip-floppy. I'm not gonna sit up here and lie, because that relationship between the two was very hard, because when I was doing 8 to 15 page papers every 10 days and struggling in an intermediate language class on top of 3 other classes, I was not having a good time with YouTube. It was at certain times it felt like either or. I don't like having to pick between 2 things I care about, which was my degree and my interest in career, because I love YouTube no matter what. Numbers, money, all that aside, I would do this for the rest of my life. Even if I wasn't getting paid for it, I would still do it because I love it that much. I love being a little bit of entertainment or light in people's day. So when it came, sorry y'all, it's getting dark. So when it came to like balancing it, I'm not gonna say I had it steady every single time, but what I do remember is that I would do a lot of my school stuff during the day, like prior to like 7, 8, 9 p.m. and I would save a lot of my YouTube stuff, such as like editing, sitting down, answering emails, submitting stuff after 9. So I was not getting much sleep like for a long time. If I didn't do it that way, I would definitely dedicate like Monday through Thursday to school, and then I would just do my content creation stuff Friday through Sunday. That is not healthy. It's not a healthy balance, because I didn't have that much time like outside of both of those to like relax like at all. Granted, my job, I do film myself a lot of the time, but I would say filming low-key is like 20% of it, and the other 80% is like computer work. Even when I was relaxing, I was still filming, which is working, and sometimes I don't want to be on camera, you know? So I'm not gonna say I had it steady, but what I do remember is that's how I personally set it up. Picking a major that's actually gonna benefit you. Define benefit you, because some people want a job that they're gonna love even if they make no money, but if you want a major that is going to benefit your pockets, it's not hard to pick up, I promise you. I feel like you have to ask yourself, what is benefiting me mean? Because me personally, I wanted a degree and to study something that I could utilize and have fun with no matter what the payment. If I wanted to get paid, I would have been an engineer. If I wanted to get paid, I could have been an architect. If I wanted to get paid, I'll be a doctor. Granted, I'm not putting that work. That's for y'all who actually like want to do that, but I'm just saying as an example. If you're money hungry, it's not hard to Google best majors for making X amount of money, or like best paying college majors, stuff like that. But if you're looking for things that are going to benefit your soul and your spirit, it really just depends on what you like and how you would ideally like to spend a lot of your time, if that makes sense. How does choosing your major and minor work? Well, you apply to school, you get accepted to school or denied, but the school you get accepted to, they ask you what you want to major in, and that's it. Minor as well. 9 times out of 10, if you want to switch it, you just email your academic advisor or head of the department that you want to switch to. Your best time management tactics: time blocking. Y'all are gonna hear it this entire video. I'm sorry. How to make friends. Join a student org. They usually have org showcases towards the beginning of the year. There's usually a bunch of student orgs everywhere. Like when it comes to being on campus, especially the first 2 weeks, like they be out trying to give out free stuff, and I'll be taking it because I have a lot of free stuff at home. I never pay for UNCC merch except like one good time. That was because I needed it for a photo shoot. But anyway, that's too much for you. That's too much of a hassle. Talk to somebody in your class that's struggling. There's never gonna be a time where you're not struggling in class, whether it happens 1 time or 1,000 times. Somebody's always going to be just as confused as you. You could talk to the person next to you, you could talk to the person behind you, you could talk to somebody after the class is done, but there's always going to be somebody who's at the same level of understanding and learning as you in your classes, so you can really take advantage of that. Not saying you should like weaponize their like struggle in the class, but you know, just like reach out. The worst they could say is like, don't talk to me. What's the best way for me not to get overstimulated or overworked? Okay, don't work yourself into the ground. Okay, you need time to yourself, but you also need time with people. I know you're going to get that in class, but you need to go out, you need to experience life outside of your studies, because if not, you're gonna look back like I do and wish that you did more for yourself and took more time for yourself in college to actually enjoy the experience outside of classes. When it comes to overwhelming and overstimulating situations, alone time is really your best thing, but outside of that, you need to like build that into your schedule. Like, I swear you need to build into your schedule, because if not, you're gonna be in hell. That's pretty much all the advice I can give on that, because everybody's level of overwhelmed and overstimulated is totally different. I will say how to prevent getting overwhelmed, because somebody also asked me that actually right after the question I just said. You're gonna get overwhelmed. I'm not gonna sit up here and say you're never gonna get overwhelmed, because you are going to get overwhelmed no matter what you do. It's gonna happen 1, 2, 3 times. It depends on the person, because like I said, everybody's capacity is a little bit different. And y'all, it's getting dark. I'm gonna try to wrap this up. We have to see. Everybody's level of overwhelmed is different, and everybody's level of what they can tolerate is different. I will say the easiest way is just taking time. Like, just relax, go home, spend some time with friends, go to the caf, get something to eat by yourself. You don't have to be attached at the hip with somebody all the time, but best way to not get overwhelmed is planning, and just planning time for you. Like, a lot of people say that, like I said, but a lot of people say it for a good reason. Best time to take grad photos in relation to graduating. Don't wait till the month of your graduating. I was graduating in May. I literally took my grad photos the day before the ceremony, and it was because I knew the girl who was taking my photo. Shout out to Kennedy. Follow Kennedy's JPEG on Instagram for all your photography needs. I would take them like a month before graduation, because everybody tries to do theirs last minute, and then people are booked, and then things get really expensive, and just it's a whole thing. Opinion on majoring without a minor. Do what you gotta do. I majored without a minor because I was trying to get the hell up out of school, okay? At the end of the day, you need to do what's for you. If you don't want a minor, don't get a minor. If you don't want a double major, don't be a double major. Simple. Do what works for you. Tips for choosing classes / putting together a schedule. You need to be realistic with oneself. You're not a morning person. Don't take a 8 a.m. If you don't function well at night, don't take a 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. class, because they do exist. Work your schedule around when you're awake and functioning. If you're a night person, please take that night class. If you're a morning person and don't mind getting up, please take that 8 a.m. Okay, especially if you have options. Is it better to write notes on an iPad or computer? Did take notes on computers and iPads, but I will say the notes that I wrote physically did a lot more for my brain and remembering, but the way that I really remembered it was writing on paper. But if that's not an option, I understand. What laptop would you recommend? I am not no tech guru, but I will say, people always ask me, oh my gosh, I'm going to school, what MacBook should I get? Sometimes you don't even need that shit. You need to do your research on what your major usually entails, if there's certain programs that you need to use, especially STEM majors, architects, engineering, all of that. You need to do your prior research. I cannot tell you a simple yes or no which you should get answer, because I was a writing major. I could literally get anything. It depends on your budget, what your major requires, and everything like that. But I will say, my creatives, MacBooks are your friend. If you just want a little cute little laptop, get a MacBook. If you want a little upgrade from that, MacBook Air. If you're into photo editing, video editing, so all my film majors and just anything that involves heavy editing softwares like that, get a MacBook Pro. Anything outside of the MacBook realm, I cannot help y'all, because I'm a MacBook girly through and through. Did you ever consider going to an HBCU? People ask me this question a lot. I did in fact consider going to an HBCU, and the reason I did not go to an HBCU is because cost on top of housing. Another thing that really turned me away was the school that I applied to, A&T, forced their freshmen to live on campus. I was not doing that. And of course, it was like commuter things. Some people are like, oh, just settle down and deal with it. Who's paying for it? Who's paying to go to school and who's paying to live? Me. So if I want to be picky and stingy with stuff like that, I'm going to. I definitely thought about going to a HBCU. It definitely was a thought in my mind. And sometimes I regret not going just for the experience, even if it was for like a semester. Okay, this is the last question. And I'm going to say, why did you choose to be a commuter student? At the end of the day, I chose to be a commuter student because that's what I thought what was best for me. And granted, it worked out perfectly fine because it just worked for me in my academics. And I learned a lot about myself with being a commuter student. At the time, it felt right, and that's just what I wanted to do. Can I go back and change that? No. But after that point, I got apartments, and it's so hard to move from an apartment that you pay for, furniture you bought, into a dorm, because then you have to take into account storage and where you're gonna leave all this stuff, and it was just a whole thing. That's why I personally chose to be a commuter student, because that's what I wanted to do. I answered a lot of questions in this video. Thank you to everybody who sent me questions on my spam account. It's getting really dark. It's 8:09. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was definitely a quick one, a regular sit down chat type of video, because I just feel like I haven't done back to school videos consistently forever, and that's what a lot of you guys found me off of. No shade, but I respect it. Those videos were good. 16, 17-year-old me was eating with those, not gonna lie. But anyway, that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. Turn on those bell notifications. A lot of you have been finding my channel recently, so hi. I'm sorry it's so dark and the lighting changes this video, but oh my god, that's what happens when you film outside. I used to film like 2 to 3 videos in a day when I was like 16 or 17 years old. I don't know what I was running off of, but I need that now. I'll see you guys next Sunday with another video. I'm not really going anywhere. I just want to say I hope you have a good rest of your morning, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you guys on the next one next Sunday. Same time, same place. Bye, y'all.